All right, welcome to another video. This is Jamil. I'm gonna be bringing you sourdough. So I basically been having this sourdough starter that I had got going in January of 2020. So this is some special stuff right here. If y'all know anything about 2020. Never done one before. It is now, what's today? What's today?
April 10th.
April 10th. So today is April 10th. So it's good and fermenty, smelling like beer and yeast, all those good flavors. Take a look at that there. Is it in focus? You see all that activity going on, all those bubbles? That's exactly what you're looking for. I fed this sourdough about 4 hours ago, 3.5, 4 hours ago. So it's perfect time for us to make some sourdough. Sourdough is actually really good for you because of that fermentation that you get with the sourdough starter. Everything good in food is with fermentation. I've heard that somewhere, maybe saying a little bit different. But basically, you got three ingredients. Three ingredients. Salt. We're using sea salt. And basically, we're using flour. We're using this bread flour. We're going to use a mixture of white bread flour, unbleached, and then also whole wheat flour to give it some color and some flavor. We're using a total of 500 grams of flour altogether, 350 from the white bread flour. That's in that bowl there. And then we're going to use 150 grams of the wheat flour. So altogether that's 500. And then also we're going to use 50 grams of the sourdough starter. And then the sourdough starter is just flour and water that was left to sit out and ferment that I feed every day. So we're still just working with two ingredients, with the salt and the flour, and then water. So pretty much we're going to use 350 grams of water, which I got in this bowl already measured out, pre-measured. When you're baking or cooking, what I'm learning is really easy to use the scale. Using measurements, it's a lot more precise that way. So we're going to be working with grams on this particular recipe. So I got 10 grams of salt with 20 grams of water. So this is actually 330 grams of water. I took 20 and put it in here with the salt just so it can dissolve. So it's a total of still 350 grams of water, 10 grams of salt. I'll put the measurements in the descriptions, okay? But pretty simple. Flour, salt, water. So now what we're going to do to get started, we're just going to add 50 grams of sourdough starter basically to the water. So I'm going to go ahead and measure out 50 grams of sourdough starter. Look at that. Yeah, that's some good stuff, man. So we'll measure out those 50 grams. Alright, so that's 53, so that's good. We'll use just a little extra in case we leave some in the bowl. Make sure we still got 50 grams in the actual recipe. So now what we're going to do is just take this spoon and stir that sourdough starter into the water so that way we can incorporate it into the flour. So this first step that we're going to do is we're going to add all the flour to the water right now, and we're going to hold off on the salt. So let's go ahead and add the whole grain, whole wheat, 150 grams to the bowl. And then we'll go ahead and add the remaining 350 of the white bread flour. And then you want to have clean hands because this is a recipe that you're going to have to use your hands to actually get in there and mix everything up. So once we mix up the flour and water and the sourdough starter, we're not going to do any kneading or anything right now. I just want to get it all incorporated where there's no dry spots. We're going to cover this bowl, let it sit for an hour. That's called the auto release, I believe. Basically it's just getting all the flour moisturized. I know y'all laugh at me out there, you real bread makers. I'm just learning from people off YouTube, man. I'm not too much a professional baker, but I've been cooking for a long time, following my grandma behind her. She was a a cook for the church, a cook for her family. And when other kids was playing with their G.I. Joes and stuff, I was in there playing with the pots and pans, you know what I'm saying? So I do know my way around the kitchen, but never went to school for it. So some of the terminology might not be professional or whatever you want to call it. So basically right now we're almost done with that. Like I said, I'm not mixing it or kneading it at this point. I just want all the water into all the flour, so we don't have any dry flour left behind. And we're gonna cover it, let it sit for an hour, and then we'll come back and show you how to put the rest of the sourdough together. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and cover it with the lid now. That's all I wanted to do. And we'll be right back. All right, so come back after an hour. It's been a little bit more longer than an hour, but roughly an hour. Don't go less than an hour. So basically the dough has hydrated all that water that we put in there. And now what we're gonna do is put that 10 grams of salt with that 20 grams of water that I had left over. So that 20 grams equals the 350 grams of water. And then the 10 grams of salt. I didn't want the salt sitting in there with that sourdough starter, because salt is like the enemy to you know, the yeast. So we're gonna basically now incorporate this salt for about maybe, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes or so. Just gotta fill the dough. It'll tell you when it's all in there. So we're just gonna work that with our hands. This dough will be pretty sticky when we're done. And that's what you want. You're looking for, it's more of a wetter dough. It'll give you a good crumb on your sourdough, your finished product. So we're just gonna work this salt. You can feel the salt and you can feel the dough when it's ready. You really have to use your hands in this recipe. Don't be afraid, because that's how you're gonna learn your dough, the resistance when it's ready, when you messed up, when you get ready to make another batch. You know, this is how you can tell what you're doing in your learning process. But if you're not using your hands, then you're not understanding what that dough feels like. And I had to learn that the hard way, because I didn't really want to get dirty like this at first. But once I started using my hands to make the sourdough, man, my sourdough really took off. So we're just gonna work that salt in there for another maybe 5 minutes max. We're not needing to knead, we're just working that salt throughout the dough. And then I'm gonna show you what to do after that to start building the gluten strength. We're gonna slap this dough a few times, start building up some gluten. And we're gonna do what's called a stretch and pull or stretch and fold method, 30-minute intervals. We're gonna do at least 3 different 30-minute intervals before we make the final shaping and go into baking our loaf of bread. Now I got that salt all worked in there. I'm gonna show you what we're gonna do to start building some gluten. I'm gonna take it out, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna slap it on here. Let the dough, I'm just gonna let it fold over on itself. See that? See how that dough is folding when I slap it? It's not necessarily breaking. And it's just gonna build some gluten here. Do this a couple times, you'll notice the dough start to change. And then we'll put it back in the, bowl, covered up. And then we'll do some stretching pulls and 30-minute intervals. This, you really don't want to skip this part. This is gonna build great gluten structure. And you need that in your sourdough, baby. All right, so a couple more times, and I'm gonna go ahead and put it back in the bowl, cover it up. And then we'll do 30-minute intervals of stretch and pull. All while that sourdough starter is fermenting and working through that dough. See that folding? It's gonna be nice and strong. So now, go ahead and put it back in the bowl. It's a little sticky, don't worry about it. Clean up. And we'll cover that. We'll come back in 30 minutes and show you what to do next. All right, so it's been 30 minutes since we were building that gluten, just kind of slapping it on the countertop there and stretching it over on itself. Now we're gonna start our first, what's called stretch and pull. I'm gonna use this actual container, this glass container. It's a lot easier than the bowl. So let me just transfer it. I got wet hands. Wet, clean hands is just a lot easier working with the dough. And what you're gonna do is start folding. First one, so you see how I folded that there? So you're gonna pick it up and then let it fold on itself. So that's, I did one side and the second side. Now we're gonna do the same thing on these other two sides. Just kind of let it stretch and then fold it and then stretch and then let it fold. So we'll let it sit here. I'm gonna cover it with the lid that goes to this container. Come back in 30 minutes. We're gonna do that same stretch and fold 4 different times. So that means that side, this side, this side. So we just did the first set. We're gonna come back and do that 2 more sets. So a total of 3 stretch and folds. And then we'll be ready to do our final, basically shaping of the dough. And then I'm gonna let it sit in the refrigerator overnight. It'll continue to basically ferment and develop all kind of good flavors. And we'll have us a good loaf of bread tomorrow when we get ready to bake it. All right, so this is stretch and fold number 2. Take a look, see how it's, you know, just rise up. See those bubbles? It's that fermentation going on right now. Those are all good signs of it's a happy dough, man. So basically right now we're just gonna continue to build that gluten structure. So it's gonna, let me wet my hands. There's clean hands, but you want them wet so the dough doesn't stick to your hands. And we're just gonna fold the dough on itself, all 4 corners. You don't want it to tear like that right there. Just want it to fold. Boom. Grab it. It was sticking to the. I didn't grease this bowl. You don't necessarily have to grease it. Should be okay. So now you turn it the other way, and we're gonna do the same thing. Just gonna let it fold in on itself without tearing the dough. And what that's doing is just stretching that gluten in a delicate way. So when you're working with like a more hydrated dough like this is about a 75% hydration. How you come to that number is you do, if you're working with 1,000 grams of flour and then you put 700 grams of water, that's basically what I did with this dough. I just cut that recipe in half. So I did 500 grams of flour with 350 grams of liquid, which equals a 70% hydration. So if you need this dough like you would regularly need any other dough, it would rip those gluten strands instead of stretching and developing and strengthening them. So we're gonna go ahead and fold it at least 1 more time. I might do it 2 more times before I go ahead and do the final shaping. So we'll come back in 30 minutes, fold it again on the third one. All right, so this is our next stretch and pull. Sorry about that. We're gonna go ahead and take a look. See, same thing, got those bubbles, fermentation going on. See how it's rising up. We're gonna go ahead and give it that last stretch and pull. And after that, let me wet my hands a little bit better. Keep telling myself that. So I want y'all to be reminded. So yeah, go ahead and grab that. Let it fall up on itself. Oh yeah, you see how that went? Let me show you one more time. Let that fall up on itself. See that? Then, gonna do the same thing. Let it fall and fold. You don't want it to rip. Do the same thing in this way. Fold. Look how it's now holding up. You see how that dough is starting to change? You see what I'm saying? We're gonna do it one more time. I think I needed one more again. And then after that, we shake and bake. Kind of like shake and bake, but shape and bake. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and cover that up. We be black. All right, this is number 4. So we've done 1, 2, 3 steps of what are called stretching folds. So I'm gonna do a 4th one. I'm switching it up a little bit. Sorry about that, guys. This 4th one basically is because it's getting late. It's 11:41 at night. I'm gonna stretch and fold it, put it in the refrigerator, let it ferment overnight. Then in the morning, I'll do the final shaping, and then I'll bake it. So I'll show y'all that part. So let's just do one more stretch and pull, and we're just gonna put it in the refrigerator. And you can really feel that dough changing. Oh yeah, this is gonna be a good loaf, I can actually tell. See that? See that difference? Yeah, we'll just leave it like that. That's good enough. So I'm gonna go ahead, basically cover this up, and I'm gonna let it sit in that refrigerator overnight. It'll continue to develop flavors and ferment, and then we'll pick back up in the morning. Y'all have a great, wonderful night. See y'all. So it's the next day. It's tomorrow. We're gonna go ahead and take the dough out, but before we do that, we're gonna take this Dutch oven and we're gonna slap it in this preheated oven. It's preheating right now to 450, and let that go ahead and sit. So I just put the Dutch oven in the oven. It's gonna go ahead and preheat while we go ahead and do the final shaping and final rise. We're gonna go ahead and shape the dough right now on the counter, put it in the bowl. We're gonna use parchment paper to actually transfer like a sling into the bowl, and then once it finishes rising, we'll transfer that into the Dutch oven that's preheated. We have it on 450 degrees. It's gonna be in there for about an hour, okay? And you really don't need to skip that part. So take a look at the dough. It's come out the refrigerator. It's been in the refrigerator overnight. So about maybe total of 9 hours in the refrigerator. Right now it's 11:20. I started this at about 5 o'clock p.m. yesterday, this process, with the first auto release process. It was about 5 o'clock yesterday p.m. and now we're gonna be cooking it right around about 12:30 or so p.m. So what you want to do is lightly flour your surface, just lightly, not very much at all, and use wet hands to get the dough out. We're gonna place the dough down, do like a little square rectangle. I'm just gonna fold the dough on top of itself, basically. Just gonna fold it, just gonna fold it like that there. And I'm just gonna kind of make like a little ball. Just gonna bring the dough to create. You don't want to pop that air in there, be careful. You see that there? Now we're gonna just grab some parchment paper, set it in a bowl, and it will basically do its final rise inside the bowl, maybe about an hour while the Dutch oven is preheating. Then we'll go ahead and bake it, show you the final results. Hopefully it comes out wonderful. All right, so I went and grabbed the parchment paper. Think about that much. You're gonna take your dough, use that to kind of keep it from folding over. Take that dough carefully, just like how it is here. So the seam side is down, because that will be the side that's cooking. This will be the top of the actual bread right here. So we're just gonna use this as a sling to put that in that bowl. It's a round bowl, and what it's gonna do is its final rise before baking. And then we'll go ahead and put it in a Dutch oven and bake it, and then we'll show you that part as well. So we're just gonna go ahead and cover this up for about 30 minutes to an hour here. All right, so pretty much it's been about an hour. We had this in the oven at 450. Don't touch that with your bare hands. Won't have no more skin. This right here has been in the microwave, pretty much just getting that final rise. And we're gonna take the parchment paper, use it as a sling, set it up into the hot skillet, and then go ahead and put it in the oven with the lid on, let it bake for 30 minutes, and then we'll take the lid off for the final 20-minute bake or so until you get the right color you're going for. We're gonna go based off of color. So we're gonna go ahead and score the bread with a razor blade. Let me just grab my razor. So you wanna take the razor blade, you wanna come over so they can see, and then you're just gonna give it a good score. And that's gonna help the bread during the cooking process. You do wanna kinda get it a little deep. This is not the best razor for this. They do have a bread score, but this will work. All right, so that's good enough. So now we're gonna go ahead and take the lid off. Remember to use your towel or something not to burn yourself, because that is piping hot. Just gonna take and use this as a sling, set it in there, cover it with the lid, put it back in the oven 30 minutes at 450 preheated. And then we'll come back and show you what it looks like when we take the lid off to do that last 20-minute cook. So we'll see what oven spring we'll have at that point. Catch you in just a minute. All right, take my lid off, bang. See what this oven spring in here looking like. Woo! Do what you know good, man. We're gonna go ahead and pop it back in there just to get a little bit more color. So now we just let it go ahead and cook for another 10 minutes or so. I actually left the lid on for 10 extra minutes on accident. I actually ignored my timer, so that's why it was a little darker color than it was supposed to be when I took the lid off. Now we just leave it for 10 minutes. We'll cut the oven off, we'll crack the lid, leave the bread in there, and it'll go through like a cool little curing process with that lid cracked open, oven off, no heat. I'll show you that in a minute. All right, so it is all done. Look at that beautiful loaf there, buddy. So we're gonna go ahead and cut it off. Smells amazing up in here. And I'm gonna just crack this door, cut the heat off, leave the oven just about like that there, and that will just cure that bread, man, as it cools down. We'll leave it like there for about 2 hours, and we'll come back and then we'll cut it open and show y'all what it looks like. You feel me? Ready? All right, so this is it right here. That loaf, you know, could have rose a little bit more, but I'm happy with the results. We're gonna eat it. It's gonna be good. Nice and crispy. You hear that? Yeah. So what we do is get a good cut. It's been 2 hours since we let it, you know, cut the oven off. So let's see what that crumb looking like. All right, there we have it. A loaf of sourdough. I'm still working on my skills, man. It's barely about my third loaf that I done baked. Just been learning from different people on YouTube and just reading online. It's getting better and better, so we'll keep working on it. But that's pretty much it. Sourdough loaf, good bread, a lot healthier than the bread you buy at the store. And it's actually sustaining. You can just get you a good piece with some butter, some jelly or some honey. Sit back, relax, and enjoy yourself. Take me back, baby. But y'all like, subscribe, and share, and we'll see y'all on the next video. Stay cool out there, everybody.